So Hera Fertility provides at-home solutions for those who are trying and struggling to conceive. It's all on the basis of that, like most people think if they're going through fertility struggles, you have to go through and get IVF, which is in vitro fertilization, and which is a very expensive and invasive procedure. What we have found is that 95% of the infertility cases don't require something like IVF.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Angels, Exits, and Acquisitions. I just got done interviewing Thiv Paramsothy. Hopefully I got that right. See, I didn't get it right a couple of times, but, rather difficult name to pronounce. Thiv and I talked about some really interesting and somewhat controversial topics in the realm of healthcare and telehealth and fertility. And I'm really excited for you to hear what he talked about on his journey in his last startups with his exits, how he got there, the type of exit he had, as well as how to find that niche you're going to go into to build a venture that's going to be successful and scalable. So stick around. As always, like, subscribe, and share. Looking forward to hearing your comments. Take care.
Welcome to Angels, Exits, and Acquisitions, the place to learn how to fund, scale, exit, and massively profit as an angel investor or entrepreneur. Brought to you by the Angel Investors Network. And now, here's your host, Jeff Barnes.
Hey, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Angels, Exits, and Acquisitions. My name is Jeff Barnes. I'm your host. I'm here today with Thiv Paramsothy. Hopefully I got that right this time.
You got it.
All right, wonderful. Thiv, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. And it's Thiv, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. I'm sorry about that.
No,
all right. Well,
my mom will, when she hears this, she's going to be like, why don't you get your full name? But I go by Thiv or Thiv. It doesn't really matter for me.
Thiv Paramsothy. There we go. I just got to slow down a little bit. All right. So Thiv, welcome to the show today. So glad to have you here. Why don't you tell folks just a little bit about yourself and, kind of give us some of that your background.
For sure. So I'm Thiv. I've been in healthcare for my entire career. And for almost 10 years now, focused really on the digital health side of things. I've had, now this is my third startup, second one founding, and had a successful exit in my past. Really, I'm passionate about how can we improve the healthcare system for all.
Awesome. Yeah, wonderful. And, this world is changing dramatically in that space, right? Not only the technology that, the medical world is using, of course, and we're seeing just constant changes and innovation in that space, but also how consumers are interacting with that. So how did you get into healthcare in the first place?
Yeah, I think back sometimes I'm like, how did I even get here? I really have to say it's from my college days, when I used to not want to go to my classes and skip and try to go to other things. And I saw these seminars and they were running about something called health informatics, which now people call digital health. And then I learned a lot and was very fascinated about it. And then, just my own experience as a patient, as a kid, was in and out of the hospital. But one time, even my mom reminds me of like really stressed about and thought that I was going to die. So I think all those factors really came together and made me realize like the healthcare system is so important for society and the economy and everything. And I, for some reason, had a knack of seeing how the system is designed and just became passionate about it.
Before continuing, please subscribe and share this video to help us reach more people and stay notified of our latest releases. Now, let's continue watching and learning.
Awesome. So I'm going to get a little controversial on you here, and we'll see where it goes, because I think there's always a good conversation that can happen here. But the healthcare system, you're right, I believe is important to a lot of people, but I think it's broken in a lot of ways, right? Yeah. I think that allopathic medicine does have a place, but unfortunately, I think people rely too much on that. And I'm curious about your take, but most allopathic medicine, most MDs out there are really good at treating symptoms and fixing something that's broken, right? You think about a broken arm. Yes, you want somebody that's going to put that back together the right way. I mean, something as bad as a laceration, a deep cut, and you're bleeding everywhere. You want a surgeon that knows how to fix that. If you need neurological surgery, brain surgery, you really want a good person. I've had my own run-in with cardiac issues. And so I want a good cardiac surgeon or somebody on that team. But on the other hand, we look at it and say, okay, well, most things out there are likely preventable in the first place.
Yeah.
But then you go and you look at the medical world, which is where everybody turns their attention to try and fix some of the problems. I mean, I see doctors that are way too unhealthy to even be a doctor. And so I'm really curious about your take on, I call it sick care, because they do a good job of treating the sick and wounded.
Yeah.
But they don't necessarily do a good job of keeping us healthy in the first place.
Hey, look, I 100% agree with that. And I think this is something that is becoming more and more clear in as we see the healthcare system. And I think COVID really showed it when we stress test the system. I look, and it's not an excuse for why it's like broken, but the reasoning I think it's become like this is it was built for treating the sick. And it was built with that in its foundation. And then as we've evolved, I think the science and the knowledge that we have now of how do we be healthy and stay healthy is getting clearer and clearer. And I think the system isn't set up for that, to be honest. And that's the difficult part is like, how do you now move this big behemoth, who is 20% of the GDP of the US economy, to now not be a sick system and be more of actually keeping people healthy and not just do lip service. I think I'll say a controversial take. A lot of people suggest that, hey, the healthcare system's going to become a learning system, or we're going to make it into more of a preventative system. And it hasn't become like that. I think they've really just put Band-Aids to try to be like that. And I think now with technology coming in play, I think that's where we can introduce and change the system to become that new model.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that too, because I wrestle with this daily, right? My company is Angel Investors Network, where we want to perpetuate free enterprise and capitalism. Like that's what we do. But there's a certain point where, like, let's be honest, if we looked at the human body and, everybody's physiology, we said, okay, we know how to prevent any sort of disease from happening. And let's just say we did figure that out, right? And I think there's plenty of people who say, you look at my grandmother, my great grandma passed away at 103. My grandmother passed away at 94, healthy their entire lives, not even going to the hospital until they were in their 90s practically. And pretty incredible, right? So great genes on the female side of my lineage, not so much on the male side. But you say, okay, well, if we had that magic pill, would there be an incentive for people to take it? And my argument would be no. The system is built in such a way that we're not really wanting to keep people from being sick ever, because there's so much money that's made from the pharmaceutical industries to the food industries. I mean, geez, look at the stuff that's outlawed in countries around the world that we still consume here in the United States, as an example. And why would that be, other than the fact that there is not a lot of monetary incentive for people to change the system? So I do agree with you that innovation technology is going to be able to, kind of get those chinks in the armor, so to speak. Yeah. And I really look forward to, the rest of this conversation about how you guys are helping with all that.
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting point. And I think consumers are really going to push it too. I think now people are becoming more aware of different options that they can have and trying to be healthier. You can think about a couple of years back when biohacking was laughed at, and now people are doing more and more of that. And I think that trend and consumers becoming more empowered is going to be really helpful, because then, a lot of the startups that you probably see in this space, it comes down to a core, like they went through this pain and they wanted to break something different. And then now the system's going to have to change as more and more people are wanting solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's like the entrepreneurs. I heard this from somebody the other day. They said, their philosophy on starting a business is you don't try and find a problem and solve the problem, but instead you find something that's working and you make it better. And I found myself kind of looking at that going, well, kind of, right? But to your point, the entrepreneur that's really passionate, really driven is trying to solve a problem. And yes, they might be making a system a little bit better that already exists, because there's very few blue ocean companies out there that succeed the first time around, right? Like Apple was not the first MP3 maker. The first few went out of business because it was too early. And there's that, like Bluetooth technology, radio frequencies, all these types of things. We have history is littered with a lot of failures of people trying to find a need and fill a need, maybe a little bit too soon. But once the technology or the economy and society starts adopting variations of that, then the entrepreneur comes in and says, okay, I see that they're trying to solve this problem, but I think they're doing it wrong. And I want to do it better, and I want to make it bigger, and I want to help more people like that. And so I think that's one of the challenges that a lot of entrepreneurs have, right? Is most entrepreneurs are incredibly innovative, sometimes to their own detriment, right? Have you found that in your journey at all?
Yeah, no, I when you were talking, it reminded me of this quote that I recently heard, which is, the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. So because like, I think at the beginning, even this is my third foray in doing a new venture, I fell into that trap of like, maybe I should do something really innovative, and change the world, and which is important, but like you could really go down the deep end there. And it's really difficult, especially if you don't have the funding and everything all lined up, like timing even. And so that I thankfully have a good team around me who is able to like say, let's take one step at a time. So at the very start, even for Hera, we're like, let's do something basic and thing that we see in the market and learn from them, right? And like understand how we can make it better and talk to the members, the people that are being affected, and kind of grow from there and iterate. Because you're never going to get it from the first shot. That's fundamental rule right there. You're going to grow and learn and have a lot of crisis points, and then develop something special from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to be honest, like that has been my biggest challenge as well throughout my entire career, is that, you want to do something that it pushes against the grain in a big way. And some of us are so freaking hard-headed and stubborn that we don't even see these signs when they're being presented to us right now, right in front of us. Like, don't do it the hard way. Go and do something a little bit easier for right now, right? To your point, funding is necessary. We all need to eat and have a place to live. And so, guess what? We have to get money to do that. And if you're doing that incredibly innovative thing that's like, climbing Mount Everest for the very first time, or, trying to break the 4-minute mile like Roger Bannister, it's like, that's so outlandish for a lot of people. But if they keep pushing and pushing, going down that one route, it's really, really hard. This is one of the reasons that most entrepreneurs end up giving up, is because they're pushing down the hard road for too far and too long, and they don't see that success. And then maybe a few years later, they see somebody else that came up with something almost identical to what they did. They say, see, I could have done it, right? Yeah. And it's heartbreaking, heart-wrenching, but at the same time, it's sort of vindicating, because you're like, okay, this idea that I had did come to fruition, even though I'm not the one that brought it, but there's definitely a need for it. So
hey, I'll still be jealous though.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it happens so often. When we went through Techstars, the managing director said something so profound. It was just like, entrepreneurs usually don't fail because of their idea. A lot of times they just run out of money. And that's the fact of the matter. And right now in this environment, it's hard to raise, let's say, and it's getting better, but it is hard. And so you have to be very careful and cautious in what you're spending your money on. And so that's where I think you need to, you don't go after the home run right off the bat. I think it's really important, especially in the first couple of years, to take your time, learn as much, maybe get a couple singles and doubles, and really understand the market. And obviously take an inventory, what could be things that shake things up. And that's kind of what we believe in. But at the core, you're still passionate about the vision, right? That's so important. You can have different solutions, but the mission and vision have to be consistent.
Yeah, beautiful. Couldn't have said it better. So you've gone through an exit already. You like you said, this is your third venture, Hera Fertility. So we'll get into that in just a minute. But can you mention the names of one or two of your first ventures, and then how did that process go of going through that exit? Like, how did that feel, and what was like? How long did it take you to get there?
Yeah, no. So the first startup was called Dr. Care. It was Toronto based because I was born and raised in Toronto, and I was a wide-eyed young 20-year-old who was like, I'm tired of the regular corporate job, and then wanted to do something more adventurous and innovative. And I met these two co-founders who were running something really special and unique because there was not too many startups, I would say, in healthcare at that time. And they had very entrepreneur spirit and really sharp on the business side. So I joined, was part of those first product person they brought on, and got to learn so much, built their product from the ground up. We ended up getting like over 1,000 physicians on it. It was a really awesome solution, helping physicians manage their finances, because family docs in particular are very passionate and caring and will do anything for their patients, but a lot of times forget about their own finances because they are a small business owner. So we did a lot of great work there. And then, after about a couple of years and seeing good success, I left to start AdriCare, which was a telehealth practice management software. And then that one, I spent about 3 years and three and a half time. I don't know, after COVID, things, I forget, it's all blurred, but 3 years really felt like 10 because we were working around the clock.
Right.
Especially when COVID hit, we basically grew from a couple hundred physicians to, I think in the end, when we sold, around 7,000 clinicians using our platform, mostly mental health specialists and family docs. So they can really connect with their patients easily and virtually. Because, even though the world stopped and everything had to be shut down and we were all at home, patients were still sick and needed help there. So that was a lot of fun. And so I'm happy to dig in a little bit on how that whole exit happened, but really it was like the perfect timing for us. And we found a great home for AdriCare after about 3.5 years.
That's awesome. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that's fast, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like you said, COVID accelerated your growth, but you guys were on a healthy track in the first place, it sounds like. And that's that hockey stick curve that, gosh, you go to any venture capital class or training, or you go through any of these startup incubators, they all talk about hitting that hockey stick growth curve. And what I found, because I've worked with a number of those and I've had one myself, is that you do not know which wheel is going to come off the bus on which day when you finally hit that, right? Because generally the growth happens before the money starts coming in. Is that your guys' experience?
Yeah, that was, oh man, the growth there was just, it spiked. And thankfully we had a great team that was able to adjust and, especially tech wise, to withstand it and adjust quickly as servers were crashing. And I think though the most important thing was that we saw that we were growing and we could continue growing like that. And I believe that there was a strong trajectory. Like we could have kept growing at that level. But like at that point, it was getting really competitive as well. And like COVID wise, I think this is an important fact. And to be honest, and now in hindsight, thankfully this all happened. But like you look at the Pelotons and all these companies that benefited and saw that huge growth because of the external environment. But that environment went back and things went back when things adjusted accordingly. And it would be really hard to continue that growth when things are going back and people are dropping off, because telehealth was great, but a lot of places went back to having in-person visits, and you're going to see a drop there, and it's hard to make that back up. And so thankfully we found a great home. There's still, like, I was checking in, and it looks like they still have the same number of the same big clients, which is great to see. A lot of times when exits happen, things change. But I'm thankful that happened, because they joined a good family that had all these other solutions and clinics. And so really it became that 1 + 1 = 3 scenario, where it can grow and really focus in on this niche area.
Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, like you said, maybe a little bit of luck and, impressions there, being able to get out there when you did. And so it was just a complete acquisition then of the company?
Yeah, complete acquisition of the company. I stayed there for about a year, but like within 6 months, I was itching to do my next startup. I think, you look at all the factors. The big one for me was like when I had Advocare, the U.S. market was something that we sold to, but most of our clients were there. They were in other countries, but it fascinated me on how complex everything was and how big it was. And so for me, I was like, if I'm going to do another startup, it has to be starting in the US. So I basically packed up my bags and moved without really not a good plan, I would say. But yeah, and then also at that time, I felt like every one of my friends and family were talking about fertility. And I was like, there's got to be something there.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So what led you down this route? Because telehealth is, maybe a little bit of a departure from fertility, but not so much. And I've had to go through this kind of stuff with, my spouse. So talk to us about how did you get into the fertility space and what is Hera Fertility?
Yeah. So for me, it all started, I would say, with really close friends who would share their stories and their difficulties going through it. Like as you're mentioning, like you probably know first that it's such a different journey and not a lot of people talk about it. We like to say it's silent suffering. It kind of triggers when you're around other people who have kids or, people ask you those wrong questions. What's difficult, what I kept hearing was that they felt helpless, like there wasn't clarity or a solution in front of them. And that's because this industry and the clinics themselves are very, very new. It's one of the newest parts of healthcare. And so when I kept hearing that from very close friends and family, and then hearing the difficulties they were having, the long wait times, and then the amount of money they were spending, like I have friends who spend $50,000 to $100,000, who some thankfully have kids, some don't. And so that really got me interested, and then made me consider even my own fertility, and took me down the path of understanding the problem better. And I saw that there was a huge problem right now with this, and it's a growing problem. When I started this, it was 1 in 8 couples. Now it's 1 in 6 that are having issues.
Wow.
It felt like, especially after talking to more and more of them and going on this journey, asking literally anyone, telling me about their journey, finding out and seeing these people, I'm like, these are the people that deserve to have a child. Some spend 10 years on this. So that really got me motivated to figure out what's the right solution here, and why I started Hera.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, you're quoting those statistics, and one of the things that I started thinking about is that movie Idiocracy. You ever seen that?
Yeah, a while back, yeah.
Having gone through this, you're exactly right. There's triggers that actually happen. As much as I hate using that word, it is something that happens when, especially, I think it's for women especially, but even men, when all of a sudden you're getting asked those questions, when are you guys going to have kids? Are you guys going to have kids? And you see the friends going through, and the friends are having kids, and everything seems happening just fine. And then you see these stupid shows like 16 and Pregnant, and you're just like rolling your eyes and so frustrated because, especially, middle-class America and folks that are, I think around the world, they're doing their best to try and get their life on track first before they go down this path, only to find out that when they try and go down the path, it's harder, right? And it's a mind game for sure. It kind of messes with everybody. So really cool to see that you guys are doing. So how does Hera Fertility work?
Yeah, so Hera Fertility provides at-home solutions for those who are trying and struggling to conceive. It's all on the basis of that, like most people think if they're going through fertility struggles, you have to go through and get IVF, which is in vitro fertilization, and which is a very expensive and invasive procedure. What we have found is that 95% of the infertility cases don't require something like IVF, and can be done. And to your point about, the whole beginning of like the sickness system and keeping people healthy, there are a lot of things that can be done to help patients essentially become healthier so they can get pregnant. And so what we focus on is testing that can be done at home, diagnosing you and treating you with medicated or different types of options. And we do this mostly from the comfort of your home, using our app and our test kits. And the last thing I'll say is our flagship product is is very interesting. It's a at-home sperm test, because 50% of the time it's the male factor that is causing infertility.
Mm-hmm. And that's also something that is, it's hard for guys to wrap their minds around, right? Like, they don't think anything's wrong with them. Everything's happening just fine. And, the thing that we see blasted over and over and over again, especially when you start getting my age and older, it's all ED, right? Erectile dysfunction. They're talking about that. And so you're seeing all these things and you think, oh, that's not me. I don't have that problem. And so you think naturally, well, I should be able to make a baby, right? It should be an issue. And only to find out that there are things that are happening at a much deeper level that are preventing that from happening. So, as awkward as that might sound for anybody who's never had to go through this, it is something that's so important to figure out, because, if you want kids, and we're seeing everywhere now the declining birth rates around the world for whether it's economic reasons or the fact that life is so easy that we don't have to have a litter of children just to maintain the farm, right?
Yeah,
whatever the reason is, for those people that actually want them, understanding the root cause, and going back to that issue, if you understand the root cause, then you have a game plan moving forward, right?
Exactly. And I think that's the fundamental piece here that's missing in this whole journey for people, is like, they just want to know the root cause. There's I think this is the one that I'm always shocked about, but there's a diagnosis called unexplained fertility. And it's literally saying, we don't know why.
Yeah.
We've done the testing, we don't know why. And I think that frustrates patients the most. It's like, I just want to understand a lot of times why. Even let alone figure out the right treatment plan and the percentage of this one working. It's just, I just want to understand what is the right option. And so I think for us, we are firmly in the belief that we should be able to provide that option. And that's why we're so invested in these testing solutions, but also access, because a lot of these people in middle class people that you're talking about can't afford $50,000 to go through and get the treatment. And they shouldn't have to spend that much.
Right.
And so that's really at the core of it. Like, can we make this affordable and accessible for people, and not have them spend their life savings or have them cost be a barrier here?
That's awesome. So Dave, what's next for Hera Fertility? Where are you guys going? What do you see on the horizon for you guys?
Yeah, our focus right now is really developing the product more and more. So scaling it. So we have launched in more and more markets now. We're across the US and just started in Canada with our test kits. We're going into retail as well, and just getting as many patients using our solutions. So that's the big focus there, partnerships. And then we'll be raising our first round soon. We just finished up Techstars. And we're looking to raise so that we can expand and grow faster.
Wonderful. Well, that's awesome. I'm really looking forward to this. It's finding that problem. You guys are looking for solutions and trying to figure out the solution, but also leveraging your experience of telehealth and health informatics, as you were saying earlier. I think this is awesome. So I'm really looking forward to watch you guys and see. Maybe we'll see at one of our upcoming events in the near future. But Dave, tell folks how they can find out more about you guys and where they can go to maybe link up with you.
Yeah, for sure. And I hope to be at one of the events. The last one was a lot of fun in Austin that I went to. To check us out, you can go on our website at herafertility.co. And we're also on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, all the social media. So please reach out, even if you want to just chat, and because this is a complicated scenario and there's a lot of different options in front of you. We're always happy to chat. I'll say this. I have so many people on my WhatsApp now that are messaging me. They're like, do you have WhatsApp? Could I just chat with you? Or even like Signal, just to ask me these questions. And I'm always happy to. So feel free to reach out. Really want to provide you the right answers as you're going through the journey and help as much as we can.
That's awesome. I'm assuming at some point you're going to get a little bit too inundated to be able to handle all those. But I will say this. that has got to be the best R&D you can do to grow your company, is when people are just asking direct questions. Like, we've never found anything that's better than somebody who has the problem you're trying to solve, asking all the questions. Like, that's awesome.
Exactly. And then that's how you're going to find out where you should be going, and just talking to your customers. They're the reason why we did these new at-home men's tests. One of the most important things is always talk to your customers.
Absolutely. Couldn't say it better. Awesome. Thiv Paramsothy. Hopefully I got it right this time.
Sound like exactly how my mom and dad say it.
Beautiful. Well, it's so glad to have you here. It's been a pleasure. Really like the topic today. I'm really looking forward to everybody's responses. So for those of you out there watching and listening to this, be sure you like, subscribe, and share. This has been a great interview with Thiv over at Hera Fertility. So check it out. We'll have all the information in the show notes. Thiv, again, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you for having me.